Hello, this is my presentation of my animal shelter database. Today I will be going over the design and implementation process and how I would improve on it in the future. Now I'm going to do a small introduction before going into the design process. First, I'm going to ask a simple question. Why did I choose to do this type of database instead of one for maybe a school or library? Well, for one, I have a love for animals, so the idea of working on one, even if it was only a pretend one, seemed to be fitting for me. It was also a great way to inspire myself and work my hardest because I'm working on something that I truly love. Now let's jump into design. When first thinking about the entities for this database, I first thought of four: breeds, animals, medical treatments, and the families. Thinking about it more, because I needed a fifth entity, I needed a way to connect breeds to the animals, because I needed a way to distinguish them, say cat, dog, snake, bunny, etc. So my fifth entity became breed types. However, I noticed too many relationships, all connecting to animals. On the screen, I have the example of it where animals to families, there can be many to many, and pets to medical treatments can be many to many. Therefore, I had to add two new entities, and I renamed several things. I had treatment types connecting to medical treatments, which connected to animals and pets, and then connecting to animals to families, I had pets adopted. Here's the way I fixed it up in an ERD. This way I could solve this problem. All I needed to do was add the two foreign keys to the new entities that I created. Whenever I implemented the normalization process, I noticed the way I had planned it already seemed to be in third normal form. Therefore, I left it as it was. Now, whenever I was going to implement my database, I ran into a few issues. First, I had trouble with the foreign keys. They didn't want to go through, and I spent a good hour just figuring out how to write the code to make it work. Now, here's my phase 3 on whenever I implemented the database. As you can see, the way I had to fix it up was I had to put the primary key as it was, and then I had to write the foreign key afterwards. So before I could make the database, or at least that table, I had to create the table which would connect the foreign keys, which is what I did. Afterwards, though, it was easy to create the tables. It was whenever I started adding data when I realized another problem. As you can see, whenever I tried to add date of rescue, I used date time, which I should not have used. And I couldn't figure out how to fix it, so I left it as it was for now, but I will explain more in detail whenever I go to my thoughts of what I would do in the future. Now, as you can see, whenever I added my data, first I did a couple tests, and then to make sure that I was adding it correctly, then I continue to add it. Now, whenever you want to see my table, say the breed table, go select star from breeds. Run it, and here's the breed table. As you can see, whenever I added the breeds, I added 26 just as a sample. But as you can see, there's breed code and breed name. Now say I wanted to do the breed types. Here I made sure each one had well, whenever you would go through this, you'd go through each one and be able to see each data. So let's say I wanted to do select star from families. There we go. I don't know why it's doing that. Here we go. Whenever I wanted to add the breed types, as you can see, the foreign key is the breed code, and I just did sample ones because the first 6 was just cat, and then I added dog, small dog as it goes on. Now for families, I only did 10 families. As you can see, I left some things to be able to be null. So this way I could figure out some things. Now I'm going to show you a couple of queries that I made. Like say here's the SQL code, select breed code from breeds, the names from the pet table, and the breed name from the breed table. Then you'd be able to see the breed code and then the name of the animal, and then you'd be able to see which breed each one would be called. I did the same for here, where I did the pets adopted with the families table and the pets, just so it would be able to connect with the first name with the person who adopted the pet, and this would be the pet name. So really, all in all, it wasn't too bad to do this. It was just making sure I typed in everything correctly. Like see here, I did the medical treatments for each one in the treatment description with the pet name. That way you'd be able to see the name of the pet, and each treatment they got. As you can see, poor Sunny had to get cancer treatments, which is sad, but you have to do what you got to do. Now, to conclude my presentation, I would like to go over my thoughts on how to improve and add onto this database model, look into the future. First, instead of the pet IDs that I used, which here you can see I just did the thousands, I would use their microchip numbers. Now, microchipping is mostly mandatory now, because if your pet goes missing or gets taken away from you, you can prove that it's your pet because of the microchipped number. They just scan it and all your information is there. They usually have a couple of letters with numbers that is unique to those animals, to that animal. They also have 15 digits, and usually the first 3 digits are the country code, so it would be easy to figure out which country this pet came from. I would also like to add more breeds in the future, because whenever I was going through it, I just added several that I thought would be able to find in an animal shelter that, are common, like pit bulls and, just domestic short hairs for cats. So if I wanted to, I would add several more, because there's hundreds of breeds of cats, or at least dogs. I think there's only like 71 cats breeds, but they're so rare that you would rarely ever see them in an animal shelter. I would also like to add more animal types. That being, as I said, you sometimes find birds and rabbits, maybe even an occasional lizard or snake. So that way I would just have it in the database so we can click on it and make sure that they're there. Next, instead of the date time, like I said, which was an issue, I would probably add either varchar or maybe just even date. That way there isn't an issue with how weird it looks. Like, say here, whenever it says date of rescue, it has the date that I added, but it also has a time, which is just 000, which I don't think is pretty, but it worked for what I needed at the time. I would also like to add date of births, which can be approximation or their true date of births for the pets and the people or families that are adopting. That way, whenever I go through a normalization process, if I wanted to add ages as well, the date of birth connects to the ages, so it would be easier to calculate it that way. Also, it could be used for a humane society as well. That way I can add the more breeds and animal types, because humane societies get a lot of animals. And that concludes my presentation. I hope you liked it, and I hope I did well. And thank you for listening to me. Thank you.